Hello.
There's a phone in your pocket.
Oh my.
It's on
I forgot
vibrate.
that.
I'm in here.
I'm on vibrate.
I'm in here.
What was that from?
It was my ringtone the one time.
No, but
Yeah, but
someone,
it's from a
it came
video.
from somewhere.
I can't remember.
There's a phone in your pocket. It's on
Yeah.
vibrate.
All right.
Are we good?
Waiting on you,
You got
big
an
boy.
idea here? Am I right camera? Right camera with a big smiley Nick back there. All right, guys, welcome back to the Raised Hunting Podcast. I'm your host, David Holder. I'm joined today by Warren and Easton, who are going to say something that is going to get us in trouble. Actually, probably not today, because I think we're going to be talking about...
I hate piglets.
Hey,
That ain't gonna get us canceled.
I just wanted to make everybody think I was about to say something to get us in trouble, but I decided not to.
So anyhow, as always, I'll apologize for what they might say because I have no idea. But today's topic is awesome. So for those of you driving down the road, thank you for tuning in. Today's won't be quite so visual. I won't push that you need to go see this on YouTube and what's it, Spotify. You said they can see it now. All right. This is more of
You
a
can see it, you can hear it, you just
traditional
can't feel it.
podcast. So, but before we go anywhere, I just want to thank you guys all for headed to the website and doing things like that. But now we got a new request. Do us a favor, leave a review for the podcast, share the podcast with your friends. Let them know, hey, this is one that we like. We're going to try to hit a certain number. When we hit that certain number, we'll probably give something away. So if you're one of them that helps us out, we sure appreciate it. The other one is go to our YouTube page. We have started working hard on, Nick is putting together some stuff, and we're putting some new videos out there. So a lot of the stuff you hear us talking about on the podcast, you can catch it on the YouTube. You can actually watch the hunts or watch the stuff that we're talking about. So swing over there and check that out. Other than that, I think Easton might have a story. Warren's got a little housekeeping. And then we're off and running, boys. I hope you guys are enjoying the off season because we got, 200 and some days until deer season. But turkey season is only like 60 days away. Not even that, 45.
I'm excited enough for turkey season to not be counting down the days to deer season.
I have a
Yeah, that's
freaking...
way too many.
I've already got like tags. I just started buying tags in every state for turkeys. So
How many tags do you have?
I got three
Different states or 3 tags?
different states.
Kansas.
Or no, I mean
Nebraska.
2 states, 3 tags. Yeah, two tags in Nebraska, 1 in Kansas, and
then
then 2
Iowa.
here. So I got 5 tags.
Yeah.
I've never killed more than 5. I might have to go for it this year because I got a new bow. All right, we'll be talking about that here in a little bit too. My new my shoulder. What? You want me to save that? I'll tease you guys. I got
I
a
just
new
wish
bow.
we didn't have to tell anybody what it was.
Yeah, we don't have to.
Well, I don't care.
We tell you guys if you want to know, but
I don't
if
care
the
what
company
brand.
wants some recognition, then reach out to us.
Hold on, let me back up though. Garrett Pape. Hats off to Garrett Pape because he is part of the reason between him and Easton. Easton pointed out the bow and said this company has made this bow specifically for someone old like you, Dad. Now that's kind of the way he put it. Old like you, and you're all worn out, so they've got a bow for
We've
you.
been telling him for years there's other options.
So
Yeah, no
anyhow, I was like, okay, well, I'll look into it. And I did. I looked at it online. Garrett Pape reached out and said, hey, I've heard you on the podcast talking about your shoulders and how bad they hurt. I'm in a similar boat, and I just went and looked at this bow and shot this bow, and I'm telling you, I'm able to shoot again. And he described almost the identical issues, shoulder replacement and that kind of stuff. And long story short, I said, all right, I got to go try this. So I ran up to the local Shield store here the other day and said, I'm going to shoot, and drew the bow one time, and I knew I was buying the bow. I knew, I was like, holy cow, this was not what I was expecting. It was way better. I was hoping it would be better, but it was 3 pounds higher than the bow I'm currently shooting. And it was like, Easton was watching me, and I didn't do my to draw.
Only a quarter of
A
it.
little bit of it. I'm not saying I got away from it by any means.
Yeah, it's definitely helped for you. Better than shooting a freaking rocket ship.
Yeah, but my rocket ship's been dead on for 3 years. I haven't adjusted the sight in 3 years.
All right. Shout out on YouTube to Sam Bricker, 4731.
Hi, Sam.
He says, awesome podcast. I usually pick up 40 to 50 in central Iowa for 10 or so years now. 5 years before that, I was sort of figuring it out, and maybe 10 to 15 a year. The biggest is 100, one at 81, and a handful over 70. It's definitely not as easy as it used to be with the popularity of it now. I think you guys should totally do the test of somebody placing out some sheds and then having someone go look. Say on 80 acres, set out an undisclosed amount, then give someone a day and see how many they can find. Would be really interesting to see how many they miss. I agree. I think we should do that. Mr. Sandman, he says, this is awesome. Totski, you're a legend. Nurse Mike IN, been slacking on comments, but never miss an episode. Another great one. And you guys got me all fired up to go find some sheds. Hoping to make it to the Iowa Classic, too. Keep them coming. William Ayers, SP4TT, says likes the new podcast room. Cody Yamnitz, NX6R, says field mice chew the antlers, too. Yes, they do. Bucky Doe Downer, 9040, podcast room looks great, guys. Shout out Caden. On Spotify, Eric Robards said, what a podcast, guys. I don't think I've seen that much bone on a table. That's incredible. Studio looks awesome. Matthew Davis says, driving a tractor listening to this, and the audio of this feller pulling these antlers out of the pile is insanity. Forrest says, I love shed hunting almost as much as bow hunting and fishing. It really is adult Easter egg hunting. Nicole Elfman, she says, I've seen one fall off of a buck before, one of the coolest things. Took me a while to find it, though. Ended up on a steep riverbank. How crazy is that? So to watch it fall off and you still have to
look for it.
Yep. Aaron, great podcast. Love listening to you all share your shed hunting stories. Griffin Reiner, great podcast. Was able to prop up my phone at my desk while working. LOL. And Quentin Spock says, love the look of the new studio. All right.
Hell yeah.
Nice. I'm putting my do not disturb on. All right, I got a story for us.
We're going to have to do some kind of a little follow up at maybe next week. But so because we went out and shed hunted with Totsky after that and had a pretty good day.
Yeah, we did have a good day.
You know, and that so none of that made it. We feel like it all happened at once, but our viewers don't know what was going on.
We could do that here in a minute after I read my story and get made fun of. All right, today's is from Justin Gray. I'm getting there. This is we're almost out of October, so we're catching back up with our current stories. All right, he says, well, unfortunately, I have good news and I have bad news on my 2025 season. Unfortunately, a buddy of mine was driving by my property and found the buck that I've been chasing named Ghost hit by a truck. That's unfortunate. He ended up being roughly 180 inches. Although I was devastated and contemplating going to the woods to shoot some does that night, I had a new buck that I've named Drippy. His name's Drippy. Hitting the scrape.
We had a Droopy.
I know, but Drippy is. Droopy. Both of them are funny. A new buck I've named Drippy hitting the scrape I put out for Ghost on trail camera. He's a super wide old buck, however, has a messed up left side of his rack. I'll be out this weekend to go after him, and he's hit the scrape multiple times during daylight, and the closest he's got to shooting light. Oh, he has not done it during daylight, and the closest he's gotten to was 3 a.m. I have a stand that I hung there where he's been bedding. Also, I am with Warren and Easton on duck hunting. The coldest I've ever been was hunting ducks in flooded timber.
Thank you.
With
Someone
holes
with
in my
sense.
Oh, he says he was hunting ducks in flooded timber with holes in my waders. Only shot one duck. However, my brother is obsessed with waterfowl and will chase those until he's in the ground. Thank y'all for what you do, and I can't wait to get out in the woods or get out into the woods.
I just don't get it.
I wouldn't have had
every duck is the same. Everyone.
I don't know. I do give them crap, but I am starting to understand a little bit more of what they're getting at in a weird sense. But mine is, I don't know what it is. A coyote rattles me when I'm calling coyotes in. Couldn't tell you why. I think it's because I suck so bad at it, and I'm trying to get better at it, that it gets me so freaking riled up and amped up. It's like I have a deer coming in, and I'm using a gun, and I'm calling them. Like, I never would have guessed that would do that. But for some dudes, they go do that. They couldn't give a care.
But let's say that you killed 50.
That's what I'm wondering. I'm wondering if I get better at it and I can start killing more in numbers, if I'll still have that. I wouldn't think. I'd think that would run out quicker.
I would think so because you're trying to figure it out right now.
Because right now it's a 50-50. It comes running in and my heart's racing. I'm like, I'm either going to kill it or I'm going to whiff.
Yep. I do think you should probably start with explaining that.
Explaining what?
Your,
The deer that's
spike.
up there?
Yeah.
All right, hang on.
For
I was caught up in trying to find your you questioned a deer whether he's dead, and I was going to look and see if I had a picture of him. I don't.
What's he talking about?
Yesterday, I just took him. He saw a deer that he thinks might be one of our deer that got killed. And I said, I'll go back and look.
It is. I'm 99% sure.
I don't think it is because I do have one picture on my phone, and it was not.
Do we want to bet?
Okay.
I'll mediate.
No, we're nobody knows what we're talking about right now.
Yeah. Well, I don't know why you went to that.
All right. So
if you can see the podcast room.
yeah, for those of you that can see the podcast room, we have a pretty they're solid deer. We have a couple deer skulls that we've put on the wall from deer that we've either killed or found.
Mostly found.
All of them
are found
Iowa.
except for your first one.
KB is not
KB.
found,
Oh, I forgot we put him up there right now.
so I have to clarify. So
Well, we
don't-
have another set. We have a different head.
right, a
for
different
that.
head will be up there when it's all said and done. We'll have the 4 that we want up there. Right now, we have some that are in holding a spot, I guess. However, there is a deer in the middle, right over the raised hunting sign. And it is a very small, I don't even know if it's officially,
I'd say he's a 3-point.
yeah, it's not even officially a forked horn. But it is
It's a spike with an eye guard.
spike with an
Pretty
eye.
gnarly spike, though, to be honest with you.
Well, the eye guard side, that's a 4-point. But the other side is the one that doesn't, that's not an inch. It's got a little bump.
So
Yeah.
he would be a 4
He would be a
point.
4-point if that
Oh.
matched.
Yeah. Hey, it's not long
However,
enough.
So for those of you that are always wondering, like, oh, it must be nice to live in Iowa and you have 180-inch deer and you guys are always talking about 150s and you're looking to pick up an 80-inch shed and all this stuff. That is not, I think the reason that I appreciate where I live so much, the reason that I love doing this with my boys is because back then I didn't have anyone to hunt with. My brother is the one that got me into hunting and got me into archery hunting, and my uncles and everyone, but they didn't do it. I mean, meaning they just kind of were like, my brother was like, you might like this, and holy shit, I just went and blew past what he was doing or anyone else in the family, and so I was learning everything on my own, and I was just infatuated with it. This would have been in like 84, 85, and so anyhow, so the goal was to kill a deer with a bow, not kill a buck. I mean, kill a deer with a bow. I started with a Bear Whitetail 2, like a lot of people, solid green, and was shooting this thing, and I couldn't hit it. I mean, basically, I could hit like a pie plate, and I didn't have anyone to tell me whether or not I was doing good or not. And I didn't have anyone to compare it to. No one standing there shooting with me. So then I go to college for a year, and I think you guys have heard me mention the whole college thing, that that was just a drunk fest. And so I went to West Virginia University. However, I met a kid, I don't even remember his name because I didn't hunt with him either, but he had a bow. And I look out the window of my dorm one day, and he's shooting out in the yard. And I was like, holy shit, this guy can shoot. Like, he had, the center dot was probably like Easton's buzzer here, about 3 inches across. He was hitting it every time. I said he's hitting a tennis ball every time. So I walked out there and I just was like kind of looking at, when you don't know someone or whatever, and I didn't know how he was going to take me. So anyhow, long story short, I was just like, you can do better than this. So I ordered my first bow. After I got out of college, I came back and so I ordered a Martin Lynx from Bass Pro for $119.
Oh, that'd be nice.
And it came in the mail, and it's solid black, and I'm jacked, and I'm in my basement. And for those of you that have not listened to the podcast much,
Wait, so you can just pick it up at Bass Pro? You had to order
there
it?
wasn't one. There was only like 2 of them, and they were like museums, like in Missouri, and yeah, there wasn't one near us.
That's crazy. Wait,
Surprised
so you didn't go
get
to
on the
so you
internet?
went-
Was around then?
No, I looked through a book.
Oh, I thought you said that you went online and ordered it.
Oh no,
No, you went to a store though and ordered it, or you just so you got a
went-
catalog.
catalog.
Yeah,
So it
I-
was direct to consumer still.
Yeah.
No, but you used to get the catalog. Matter of fact, we saved them for a long time. They were like collectors, like they were
We used to have a ton of them.
hardbound, catalog. Anyhow, you flip through there, found the Martin links, call them on the phone, tell them I want to order such and such, and
How'd you pay them?
I don't remember how I did that. I don't know if you
Did
could
give them your bank info or something?
maybe. I can't remember because I know I didn't have a credit card at that time.
Send a pigeon.
Send a check.
I'm not sure. I was
Carrier pigeon.
someone else that can remember better. Like I said, back then I drank, so I don't
Well, you
remember.
Craig, did you have debit cards maybe back then, or credit cards?
Yeah, we had debit cards.
I had credit
think I
cards.
think you could take a credit. I think they could take a credit
Yeah,
card
you
by
probably give
that
them a
time.
credit card over the phone.
I think that had to be what we did. I probably had to use mom or dad's or whatever to do it. But anyhow, so I ordered this bow. It comes, and I'm super excited. I'm in the basement, and I unpackage this thing, and it's as badass as I thought. It's solid black. It's got a wooden thing on the riser with the links. That's what Martin did. And I was like, hell yeah. Oh, I can't budge this thing. I mean, I can't move it. I'm like, now I'm demoralized. I don't know what to do here. So I'm like, I got a bow, I can't draw. I got one that I can't hit anything with. Luckily, a buddy of mine, his buddy, him and his dad hunted and bow hunted. And so I asked him, can you ask Rob if I could talk to his dad? I got a bow I don't know what to do with. Edwin didn't know anything about bow hunting, so he was like, sure, I'll ask him. So the guy agrees to let me come over. And again, I go over to someone's house. They know I'm coming, and they're in their backyard and they got a scaffolding set up and they're shooting. And his dad is up on top of that scaffolding and he's shooting like 20 yards, but he's hitting a freaking quarter, and I'm just like, I'm looking through the hole in the fence. I don't want to go in because I'm like, holy crap, these guys are good. And this is back when they had pendulum sights and stuff. I'm like, he must have that pendulum. You guys know what I'm talking about? So they made a sight that would hang down, had like an arm, and then the dot was in the center so that when you shot out of a tree stand, supposedly it would swing so that the pin was always on no matter where it was. I'm like, he must have a pendulum sight,
Explain that one more time.
So the sight would move.
The housing or the pin?
the pin hanging down inside. So like if it was just
so
hanging,
technically it stays centered all the
yes. So like you shoot 20, right? But then when you were up in a tree, it would go forward. So that supposedly it was, I don't know if it worked or not, but it looked badass to me.
But that would always match the angle too.
Yeah.
Why didn't they, that seems like a great idea.
So anyhow, I just remember standing there for a couple minutes trying to get enough courage to knock on the gate and tell them I'm here. Because I got to walk in and tell them I don't know how to draw my bow. And so I do. And I go in and he's like, okay. He says, here, all we got to do is this. And he cranks it down, which I had no idea what he was doing. Hands me back my bow. He says, do you have a release? I'm like, no. And he's like, okay, that's okay. Back then, about 50% of us were probably shooting with fingers, and so, but I grab the bow. Oh, it comes back. I'm like, all right. And so that started the whole thing. And so then I start shoot. Well, I immediately with this new bow, and then I think I still have the original release. Someone out there in podcast land will be able to confirm. They looked like a pistol grip. I
remember them,
like a big grip, and you just pushed it on the string, and it was just like jaws, like slip past, and the string was behind it, and you pushed the button. So I got that, and when I got that, my groups went like, I'm hitting something. Like I was confident now. I'm like, okay, I just need to find a deer. So anyhow, I joined that hunt club that you guys have heard me mention. I get a part of this, and the first place I asked if I could go hunt in this hunt club the way they did it, the guy's like, why do you want to go there? That's our rifle range. I mean, that's where everyone shoots. And I was like, well, it's just closest to my house because I live in town, and there'll be deer there, And I went out behind the rifle range, and I'm not like right behind the rifle range. I was far enough away it's safe and stuff like that. But anyhow, long story short, I climbed in that tree, and I mean, I did all my scouting. I found this little puddle of water. There's a power line that came down through there. I thought this is where the deer will cross. Maybe they'll stop to get a drink. There was lots of tracks. I climb up, just like you guys saddle now. I climb up in a climbing stand, wooden stand again. And I don't know why I remember these prices other than it was the first. I had bought a TSS was the stand, and it was a wooden platform stand. There's no seat on it or anything. It just a band that goes around the tree. You slip your feet in the bungee cords, and you lift your feet and put them down. Lift your feet, and you hug the tree, and that's how you go up. And it was $29.99. And so up the tree I go with my $119 bow and my $29.99.
I feel like that one you could have just built yourself.
You could have. You needed to understand. They had a locking pin on there. It wouldn't have been hard now, but back then I had no clue. And so
you paid the same amount for your stand as you did your bow.
No, $29.99. The bow was $119.
I thought you said it was $100.
No, $29.99.
Okay, well that's more fair. I'm like, holy cow, they're charging an arm and a leg
so
for that thing.
I climb up in that tree, and I'm in that tree, and I'll never forget looking over because I have no idea how she got there. I mean, I'm on the water hole. I'm like 12 yards from the water hole, and all of a sudden I just look over, and there's a deer getting a drink. I'm like, you gotta be freaking kidding me. And I mean, I'd have time to shake, but I came to full draw. I shoot this deer. It takes off running. And I felt like I did everything. I thought it felt good. I was like, man, I think I got this one. And I climb down out of the tree and I start following, and there's just a little tiny bit of blood. And I get over to the fence, which I can't go on the other side. And there she is, about 4 or 5. She's made it on the other side of the fence. I lay down, keeping my feet on this side of the fence, and stretch to a foot and pull. That's how I killed my first. That's how I killed my first deer. So the next year, because that was it. I mean, I'm not looking. I don't. I'm sure I kept hunting, but I didn't even consider trying to kill a buck. And that's where this one comes in. Same hunt club, but different property. I go to this place, and this is funny but it's just life. I'm driving down the road on Interstate 66. And I've got a hat like I always do still today. This hat was in the dashboard of my truck. And the Tinks truck, a Jeep Cherokee, pulls up beside me. He sees me and sees that the hat sitting on the dashboard is a Tinks hat. And so he waves at me to pull over. We're on the interstate. I pull over, and I'm like, how are you? I don't know. I just know it's the Tinks truck. It's written all over it. And he's like, man, I just wanted to say thank you for using our stuff, and I want to give you a new hat. And so he gave me a new hat. I don't know if he gave me a bottle of Tinks at the time or not, but I was like, man, that was cool. He just like randomly stopped me as I was going hunting. So I take what he gave me, and I went on down the road, and I was just like, well, that was really freaking cool. And back then I used 35 millimeter camera canisters. I had taken those, and I poked holes in them with a hole punch. And then I put a piece of rope in it so that I could close the canister. I could drop a little bit of urine in there and on a cotton ball, and then hang it in a tree, and it would come out, and they would smell it. Well, where I went this time, I forgot the string. So I had to just lay them on the ground. So I got like 4 or 5 little cotton balls laid out on the ground around my stand. I climb up in my stand, and I don't know how, I hadn't been there very long, and I hear, that's the thing I've tried to tell people. Like, that's what hooked me, was the sound of deer coming back when I lived in Virginia. Through the leaves, you'd hear, and you knew, there were certain times you knew it wasn't a squirrel. And when deer were running, you definitely knew. And this was a deer running, and it's coming toward me. Well, it's a buck and a doe. And the buck is this buck. And he's following the doe, and they're coming down. They're not going to come right by me. They're a little too far away. And as they come by, though, he decides to kind of like do that hurry on trot and run up to her. And when he runs up to her, she turns. When she turns, she comes over, and I watched her step on one of my cotton balls. When she stepped on the cotton ball, he freaked. I guess now he's like got that smell on her, and he is like trying to knock her down with his, because I can't get a shot because he's running her around. They're running around my stand for probably what seemed like 5 minutes. It was probably 30 seconds or 40 seconds. But he literally knocked her off her feet one time. And then when she was trying to get her feet, that stopped him. And he was standing there. And then I came to full draw, and I shot this deer, and I mean, like, blew up, right? I'm calling all my friends. They got to come because I take it to my brother's cabin and hang it up. And I called Karen, said, Mom, it wasn't Mom at the time, it was my girlfriend. And I'm like, I killed a buck. I mean, like, I killed a buck with a freaking bow, and it was a huge deal. And so, long story on how that deer, that's honestly, that's how all this started, man. I hadn't even thought about that, but that's what I wanted to show these guys. That's what I've always wanted to show other people, is what that felt like. And I haven't lost it today. We're 40 years past that. And I was just telling someone the other day that I look back a couple years ago, and Karen was hunting with me, and she's in a tree, and I said, why didn't you shoot this doe? Because it was right there. We're always two of us now with a camera. And she says, I couldn't. And I'm like, why? She says, because the tree was shaking. I'm like, what are you talking about? And she says, look at your leg. And I mean, my freaking legs. And it was a doe that she was shooting. And that's just me. That's who I am.
So how did you get the courage to ask those guys to help you?
I didn't have any choice anymore. I mean, I'm standing there at that fence, and I know I want to do this really, really bad, but I don't have any choice. There's no turning around. I'm gonna knock on the gate and just say, "Hey, man, can you help me?"
Yeah,
but it was hard.
I believe that, but I would think I just want to add to that. I think most of the time when I don't care if it's the dude, if it's the biggest guy in the gym, or the best shot at the archery shop, or whatever it is that you're doing that you want to do, usually the dude that is the best at it is going to be more than willing to help. It's intimidating because they're good, but at the same time, they want to help other people because they're so good that they don't have a fragile ego. Like they know that they're the biggest guy at the gym, or they know that they can shoot really well. And so if somebody else wants help, usually they're more than excited to help them. So just try to keep that in mind. If you are in a similar position on whatever it is, and you want to try to get better, that you might be a little intimidated or nervous, but that person is probably, I'd say 98% of them are going to be more than excited to help you out.
I would agree with that.
I think that might be the best tip we've ever given on this podcast ever. I agree with you 100% that you'll talk yourself out of asking because you're intimidated and you don't want, and people that meet me today, that because I work out and stuff, and I hope that now and maybe that's my whole reason for wanting to give back so bad, is I needed someone to help me. And I know how hard it was to ask, but I agree with you. And if when you do ask, then you didn't want their help anyhow.
Yeah,
they're the wrong one to ask. Move on. Don't take that personally, because you will occasionally run into that one.
Yeah. But that's the 1%, I think.
Yes, I agree.
I mean, we get people here all the time, and we're always excited to help them because
Absolutely.
we want to see, we're excited for them to shoot well. And, and they're always like apologizing or really nervous or anything. And we're like, you have to start somewhere. So, so you started hunting in 84? Or was that when you started bow hunting?
No, I killed my first deer at 10, so 78.
Okay.
1978.
Even then, so by the time, when did you kill your first elk?
28.
I think 28.9, I think. I have to go
So
look.
98?
30 years passed.
Well, he's 20. Yeah.
30 years would be
That'd have been whenever you moved to Montana,
yeah,
right?
96 or 97, I think. Because we moved to Montana in 96. I think, yeah, I killed an elk. I killed that cow. Shot a cow with a rifle first year.
That's kind of crazy to me to think of. So, because if you really started bow hunting in 84 or whatever, and started there, and then you moved to Montana in 95, so a little over 10 years or 10, 11 years, whatever, it would depend on the hunting season. Because I would say, in my opinion, maybe I'm not remembering this right, but by 2000, you were a certified killer. You were killing an elk every single year on public. You were killing deer, and for Montana, good deer every single year, an antelope every single year. Was that by 2000?
Yeah, I think around, right? Yeah, because I started with Primos in 2004, and so I would have had to have some kind of a resume, so to speak, that I was.
Is that not just me, or is that pretty fast to figure out that learning curve?
Oh, it's very fast.
So how did you do
go
that?
from Virginia to a western state where everybody would probably tell you. Did they tell you that back then to just launch arrows at 100 yards like idiots?
Yeah. The first thing they told me is you're going to have to shoot farther, because there was a place in between Virginia and Montana, and that was Arkansas. And Arkansas is where I kind of honed in on bow hunt. I had now made the determination that I didn't want to kill anything anymore with a gun. I wanted to kill it with a bow, not because I was against guns, because I found out what that experience was like to be close to the deer and not get a shot, and seeing them, hearing them. There was all these things that I was like, wow, this is for someone who's as competitive as I am, this was the competition. Shooting them with a gun was fun, but it wasn't as it wasn't
It's intimate.
Yeah, well, like Nick and I just named Patch an adversary. You didn't have an adversary with a gun. He was just a deer out there at 150 yards. Shoot him and it's over. Now I need to take that deer that's at 150 and get him to 15, and try to get this and get an arrow in him and then make that shot. So when I moved to Montana, yes, lots of the firemen and stuff said, that you come from this, and I had the accent. I mean, I sounded just like Jackie Bushman, Will Primos. I mean, you pick up that accent when you live down there. And so anyhow, I got there and they're like, listen, country boy, you ain't going to be shooting out here at no damn 15, 20 yards. You're going to need. And so I started practicing 60 yards, 70 yards, and I wasn't any better.
Well, so let's give people context though too. I would say most of your Western residents, I should say, the percentage of those guys that are killing an elk every year and killing an elk every year on public is probably, it's got to be 10% or less.
They say the average elk hunter is 8% of the elk hunters
10% of the hunters kill 90%
of the game. But I'm saying the official, I don't know if it's still that way, but there was time when they did some surveys, and it was, you had an 8% success rate with archery equipment for elk.
But that's overall.
Overall, yeah.
So how many of those guys though you think were doing it every year that were in the 8%?
I couldn't answer. I mean, there's some guys that were doing it. David Westmoreland's a guy killing every year.
Probably 10%, right?
Yeah, yes and no. No, I would out of the 10% of the
I'm saying of the general people who had an archery tag that lived out west that were a resident.
Okay.
How many of them were consecutively killing an elk on public every year?
I'd say 30 or 40%.
Okay, so 30 or 40%, which would probably be the reason then that every seminar you did was packed.
Yeah.
Because the other 70% were not.
Yeah, they kill one. They might kill one, but then they don't kill one for a couple years. Or
yes.
Yeah.
So what is it that in the first 5 years that you arrived in Montana that allowed you to figure out what you needed to do so quickly to be able to be consistent on killing elk? Or just killing, an elk or a deer, because you were killing both.
I would say two things. One would be the drive. I had the same drive to figure this out as I did for getting the bow in my hands in the first place. That I knew this is what I wanted to do. But I also had a cheat code. And that cheat code was turkey hunting. And what I mean by that, I already knew how to blow a diaphragm call. I already had a good idea on how to make animal sounds, even though a turkey's nothing like an elk. All I needed was someone to show me what the elk sounded like, and I could mimic that. I'm not saying immediately, but
you could call already.
I could pick up on it pretty quickly. And so once I found that, once I got a couple different guys that were able to tell me, okay, this is what they sound like. And again, I'll go back to Primos was probably one of my greatest learning tools from their videos, because they would do on their turkey videos, they would put out hen sounds. I watched all the hunts, but that was what I honed in on. Was they would always have a segment that would say learn from the pro or whatever, and boom, here's a hen yelping, or here's a hen fly down cackle, here's a hen kikiing, and I would rewind, play, mimic that, and then they had started elk hunting. And so then when they did that, I did the same thing. They had a segment in there where they would show all these cows making the sounds, and I started doing that. I know we go back to like talking about topo maps or topo maps, whatever you want to call them. I just I guess I've always been the one. If you work hard enough, you're gonna win.
So were you meeting people though who do you think had the drive and weren't able to be successful, and they were just focusing on the wrong thing, or didn't quite understand, something didn't click, or was every person who had that drive able to figure it out and was killing stuff consistent?
I think maybe the thing that, one, the drive has to be enough you're willing to sacrifice something. And I sacrifice time. I would sacrifice all my summers by working for other firefighters so I could be off to spend the time in the woods. Because I did immediately learn the chances of you killing an elk with a bow and arrow in 4 or 5 days, not very good. That just takes longer. Number one, I can remember times when I spent 2 or 3 days trying to find them. You go somewhere, you'd hike in 6 miles, man, and everything says, the map says there's water here, says there's cover here, says they're doing this, they're doing that, and they're not there. Now you basically hiked in, put your camp up and everything. You kind of committed to this. 2 days in, you still haven't found an elk. Throw it all on your back, go somewhere else, try to find. And then what you didn't know back then was things like fire. There'd been a fire on a ranch somewhere, and it would work against you. There was no elk there. Not that that place was burned where you were at, but it had moved the elk. One year, one of the places, Jamie Jackson and I go in there, one of my first years in, second year, I think, or third maybe, and there's freaking elk everywhere. He's like, I've never seen this. He says, I've hunted here for years. We were seeing 600 elk a day on public land. And bulls bugling. Like, I watched 60, 70 bulls come over a hill, like running down a hill, screaming their guts out, coming toward us. And I'm like, well, this is what it looked like on the Primos videos. I'm like, hell yeah.
No kidding.
Well, come to find out what was going on. I didn't, again, there's no social media, so you don't know until later on. We find out that the ranches that were around the public had been open to rifle for cows because they had too many elk. So they went in and shot some of the cows. They don't do that anymore because they figured out when they shot those cows, they pushed their elk out of there during their archery season. And then they couldn't sell hunts to their hunters because there was no bulls, and they were all over where we were, So, so just being, I guess, Warren, I'm trying to be as non-arrogant as possible to say, I've always been someone that believed you just outwork everyone else. You just put that much more time, that much more effort. I've done it with my workouts. I do it with plunging. I do it with hunting. I do it with you guys. I do it with my marriage. I'm OCD.
I think
we know that.
Yeah, I mean, well, wait, hold on. Let me finish that statement. Wait a minute. Let me finish that statement, because OCD means that you are obsessive compulsive with whatever you do. So those of you that wrote in and said, dang it, man, I'm glad you brought up the fact that you've been sober since 1998. That's because I'm obsessive compulsive. I won't touch it.
I don't think it's OCD. Can I add something there?
Sure.
Because I do think this is just really interesting for life in general, and I think that all of us have gotten to experience some of this, and Nick has even been a part of it. I think the other term I think we should throw out the window is outwork everyone. And the reason I say that is because I believe that when David moved to Montana and David decided, I want to kill an elk, David didn't give a shit what anybody else was doing.
No, agreed.
David was obsessed with what David was doing. And so now that may have meant that David was working hard, but he really didn't care if Billy Bob over here was also killing an elk every year and he was going ham. I think it's that you become so obsessed with the outcome that you want that there is no other option, and it's an obsession. It's something that I don't know if it's OCD. I think OCD is like a clinical diagnosis. I think it's obsessed with, I want this outcome, and I would say that that's as much as even where I say that I think all of us have gotten to be a part of it, Nick included, is in this business. We've completely flipped this business. For people that have listened to the podcast for a long time, they know that race hunting was a TV show to start, and that was the business. That was what kept the lights on. That was what allowed us to be able to pay a Nick or anybody else. And now we don't have a TV show. I mean, we still post content on our YouTube and stuff, but not enough of you guys watch that to keep our lights on. So,
thanks, you bunch of jerks.
Well, maybe not, because maybe all of our podcast ones are
they're the ones that do listen,
you know. But we haven't mastered that side of it, and which I think is a little bit of a kind of a good thing for us, but we've been obsessed with, we're going to make this business work in a way that we wanted it to, because we wanted more freedom and we wanted to be able to have the ability to do this podcast and not have to mention a single sponsor's name, which we get all the time. People saying, I love the fact that you guys aren't saying, brought to you by Nike or whoever. And that's because part of where we got to the point was we don't want to have to sell you guys anything unless it's something that we truly believe in and it's more of an endorsement. And I would say, you guys, correct me if I'm wrong, we got obsessed with making that our reality and figuring out how to do that. And now our business is completely controlled by us. Not that it wasn't before, but we really had 20 bosses of sponsors telling us, this is what you got to do, this is what you got to do, this is what you got to do.
And I think that's what I want to clarify, because I was joking when I was like, you bunch of jerks, meaning like the viewers aren't watching. That was never the issue. We had as many eyeballs as anyone else. Warren has hit the nail on the head. You can't imagine if you were to go watch your favorite movie. Imagine if you were watching Landman, if you guys watch series, and in Landman, everything he does is
brought to you by Exxon.
Yeah,
no kidding. It's such a good relation to that.
Or he's got to throw hey, Billy Bob, we need you to throw this block on your shoulder and make sure you walk through. And then we want you to take a 30-second segment and we want you to talk about our product specifically and how it helped you buy that oil rig.
Yeah,
you just ruined the movie. If you did that to Bruce Willis in Die Hard, if he in the middle of the movie, we were trying.
Check out my ammunition that I'm shooting everybody with.
Exactly.
I'm shooting 95 grains.
John Wick just shot this guy with a Winchester.
And so
hold up, John, while you're back like this. Brought to you by Winchester.
So that's what we could not. What we were doing was we built 13 movies every year, 13 mini movies, and we didn't want to sell ourselves to sponsors, and so we said, we're not going to continue to do this. I'm hoping at some point, for your guys' sake and our sake, I love telling the stories. I think we really reach people in the hunting community and outside of the hunting community to see what the emotional side, what hunting feels like. And I'm not knocking all the other shows out there, because there's guys doing some great stuff, but they're showing you, we just didn't want to do another one like everyone else.
So I think this is one, we're not going to be doing the podcast we thought we were doing today, which nobody knew that. But I think it's good. I think we're on a way better one, to be honest with you.
Sure.
So
I pulled up statistics, by the way, if you ever get back to the elk, but I'm waiting on that.
Okay. I don't know that we will. So, so I guess my point on this is that if there's something that you want bad enough, you're going to get obsessed with it, and you will achieve whatever it is you want to, but you do have to be obsessed with it. And I wouldn't worry so much about what everybody else does, unless it's somebody who's doing what you want to do. Then I do think that you should be looking at that. Now, my question to you on this would be, so let's just take something you've been obsessed with, whether it's hunting or anything else, and maybe you think of the same. I've got one. And I think when you get obsessed on something, you can get tunnel vision and you can get blinders. And so what is a mistake or two that you made during that time of being obsessed? And I can go first if you need me to.
No, I have a couple. I mean, because there's several. Let me start with probably next to hunting, probably the biggest thing outside of my family that I enjoy and that I do with passion still today, and that's working out. Okay, I've been obsessed with working out. I'm always challenging myself. I think that you've made a great point, because it wasn't outworking anyone else. It was outworking myself. And that was like in the gym, there was no one else that was benching 405 that made me want to do it. It just became, I'm at the first time I tried to do 225 and I can't get it. and I won't let myself go to the beach. That was the whole deal. We went to the beach every year at the end of school for a week, and I had told myself, unless you get this, you don't go. And so Troy shows up at my house 7 o'clock in the morning one morning, the day we're supposed to leave for the beach, because the day before, me and him had been at the gym, and I didn't get it. And he goes, "What are you doing?" And I said, "I'm not going. I told you." He says, "Get your, we're going." I said, "I'm not going. I will not go." And he says, "We're going to the gym right now, and then we're going to leave for the beach." And he says, "You're going to get it." I said, "There's no freaking way, dude. I just gave everything I had yesterday, so my body's going to be worn out." We drive 15 minutes to the gym. We go to the gym, and it was the easiest lift I ever did. And it went whoosh, and off we went to the gym.
Off to the beach.
To the beach. So with what you're talking about, though, is the biggest mistake would be the workout stuff. And that is because I became so obsessed with trying to accomplish things that I didn't think my body was that was capable of doing. Weighing 200 pounds, bench pressing 405. I ate like shit. People would ask me all the time, "How do you lift weights like you do, and you're in the shape that you are? What do you eat?" And I would have to tell them, 7-Eleven pizza, hot dogs,
big gulps,
brownies, 240 ounces of pop a day. And what I would do was I believed the heavier you ate, the harder you worked out. And then that would equal it out.
And logic is so jacked.
So now I'm 57 years old. You guys just heard me at the beginning of this talk about my shoulders. And I've had to have knee surgeries, and I've had to have my hands worked out. There's a perfect example. So in the fire department, I got to where I was teaching other guys how to penetrate a roof, how to open a roof with an axe. Okay, and we still did it with an axe. I mean, you could use a chainsaw and things like that, but we taught them this is the way you do it. And I had some guys mention one day that it was hot on the roof and all this, and that kind of, because in the fire department, it was a life or death situation, right? It wasn't just, okay, you didn't mop the floor well. This was something I needed them to know how to do. And so when they would piss me off like that, then I would show them, this is what it's like when in reality. And I would just go frickin' ham and cut a complete 4x8 circle and pull that piece of wood out of there. I did it to the point where I couldn't open my hand one day. And I was like, I don't know what's going on. Something's wrong here, and like it was almost like your hand was cramped. Come to find out, I had given myself carpal tunnel from squeezing the axe so hard, just because I did too much,
So what would you say the main mistake was that you
still have to be smart about what I'm finding now at 57 that I'm working out very, very hard, but very much smarter. I'm feeding my body correctly or better. And I'm still not as good as I should be. For instance, like I hate running, absolutely hate it, but I make myself do it because I want to go elk hunting and I want to be in the best shape I can be. However, now I've got our treadmill in the basement.
You're listening to your body.
Yeah, and so I got it cranked up on a 15% grade, and I'm going. And yesterday I looked down and I'm at 160 on my heart rate, and I'm like, holy crap! I still got 15 minutes left to go. I had no idea that walking on this treadmill at this incline could do this. So things like that. So that would be. There's one.
So keeping the lesson, I think, of that, or the point of that, would be push yourself, but use some logic and make sure that you're also thinking of longevity. Okay, do you have one?
I think I did at the beginning of that.
I've got one.
Now I've got a little engrossed there.
Okay, well, I'll buy you some time. So something I'd gotten absolutely obsessed with was, fortunately now, the partners that we work with are awesome, and I love those guys. Most of the ones we worked with before, I hated. I hated having somebody. Maybe it's just I've never been very good at having people tell me what to do.
Really?
And so having a whole bunch of them telling me what to do and how I had to do it and what all we needed to do all the time just never worked very well for Warren. So I gotten absolutely obsessed with finding any other way for us to be able to try to have a business that was controlled by us and our audience. And so that's where I'd gotten onto. Some of you, probably not very many of you, but there might have been a few people that may remember. We actually built an app called Raised Outdoors, which was my obsession. And I got so obsessed, I taught myself how to code because I couldn't afford what an app cost. I had no idea that it was about $50,000.
You could have waited about 7 years, and then you would have had AI that could just build it for you in 5 minutes.
Yeah, but so where I'm going with this is I gotten obsessed, which I think was a good thing. But every piece of information, every piece of content that I could consume from anybody who knew more than me and had figured out some things out in business, I had just would take in all of it. And so one thing that I heard these guys always saying was, don't quit, don't quit, don't quit. And so to me, which I do believe, if somebody's where you want to be, then you should listen to them. If they've got what you want and they're at a point where you want to get to, then you should take their advice. However, I do think these guys, to some extent, of most of their business podcasts, I think that they forget sometimes that they're speaking to 1%. Meaning there's 1% of people probably listening to that podcast that's actually going to do the stuff that they talk about. And so when they said, don't quit, don't quit, don't quit, to me, that meant do not quit.
Right.
Like I was not going to quit. And it was not an option. I was not going to quit. In hindsight, with what I've learned now, I should have quit like a long time ago. And so I guess is what I'm saying with that is and so I don't know if that it was a mistake because it led to everything of where we're at now, and I couldn't be more happy with where we're at now. However, I think it possibly could have been quite a bit quicker if I would have adjusted and used some logic, because I think if I'd have been able to have a one-on-one conversation with any of those guys, they'd have said, oh, dude, you need to quit.
Yeah, you need to, or you need to pivot. You need
to readjust because you don't understand any of the stuff that you're doing, and what you're doing is just pushing a brick wall. And you're going really hard, and you're managing to move the brick wall, but you ain't going to get to where you want to be. You need to rebuild the base, right? Like you've got to completely change this thing. And so I wish I would have tried to seek out a couple people that were more on a personal level that I could have gotten a hold of and asked them their opinions, because I think they would have helped me redirect. So I guess is what I'm saying is it's good to get obsessed and listen to podcasts and consume content and things, but if you're at a time where you're really questioning, is that what I should keep doing? Try to find somebody who's a little bit closer to you that you can actually have a real conversation with that may be able to give you some advice, because chances are now they've probably been there and they can give you some insight on, hey, yeah, they're telling you don't quit because most people are going to quit way too early. Right. And so we were really fortunately saved that the way the whole thing ended was in a really fast manner where I had no option. I did everything I could, and it just went under on its own. And thank God it did, because it was the best thing that could have ever happened. But if it would have been up to me, I still might be pushing the brick wall right now. And so, I guess the point of that is I think it's good to be obsessed, but if you're at a point where it's like, okay, now it's been not a month and you're like, what's going on? But 6 months, a year, 2 years, 3 years, consider trying to find a closer inner circle that's been there or been further ahead of you and trying to get some of their insight. I think that's whether that's hunting, business, anything.
For sure. Did you get yours? Did you think about what? You
guys make me feel either like a piece of shit or I haven't been obsessed with very much in my life.
Well, you've been you're absolutely obsessed with deer.
Well, yeah, but that's understandable. This is a podcast about deer. I like to deer hunt.
Yeah, but I think I can think of one for you.
Yeah, I can. I if you don't mind, I'll share.
Oh boy, here we go.
So the 170 mark became an obsession, and so much so I think to the point that even if it wasn't 170, you thought it was. You made it what it was, and that's exactly. Unfortunately, that's my son. You were doing exactly what you just were so consumed.
And it was taking from what you actually loved.
Trying to get the goal or accomplishing a goal, but I feel like I've talked about that on here before, about why don't do that because it's not worth it.
I think it's still important to talk about.
Absolutely.
I think most of that is just getting blinded by your goal or what your goal is. I think it's very, very important. Most people don't set a goal, which I've found to be, as I've gotten a little bit older, the majority of people around me don't have goals, which makes you get nowhere. And so having a goal is great, but being overly obsessed with a goal is not great. That did 100% ruin. And for anybody that is listening, in 170 wasn't because it's Booner. I mean, it's convenient that it's Booner, but a 170 was because we live in Iowa. We have the ability to maybe our average, I don't know what it is right now, but there's a good amount of 140-inch, 150-inch deer running around. Probably going to have to work pretty hard about it to kill consistently 150-inch deer, in my opinion, especially mature ones. And I felt like I had killed some 150-inch deer that were mature. The 170 was what I couldn't break. It was like just finding a 170 was difficult enough in itself, let alone killing one. And you are correct, because I've looked back at some of the photos and stuff of deer that I was like are really close. Warren tried warning me on the Elway deer. You guys have heard me talk about multiple times that he's not going to be 170, and I argued with him over and over again because I don't know. He's definitely 160s, 100%. I never asked the kid that ended up killing him what he went, but I think Warren was going to be correct in that I would have had this major goal and literally spent my entire two full seasons only focused on one deer. If I did get the opportunity to shoot him, I shoot him, and then I'm going to be like, oh man. And I've never once, I can proudly say, I've never once had the ground shrinkage issue, like where guys are like, man, you got up to something and you don't appreciate it as much as you thought it was in the stand. I've never once had that. It's always been more. And I think that would have been the first one that would have set me up for a major letdown, which would have been right to the animal either. But with that, I think that it's very healthy to have goals, but I think it's also very healthy to not get so engrossed in the goals that you lose track of why you're doing it, number one.
Yeah, that's really good.
Where you're trying to get to, and the fact that you're blessed enough to be able to be doing whatever that goal is, or especially if it's something you're doing as a hobby, but even in work or something, you're lucky enough to be living, breathing, healthy enough to be able to accomplish something. Don't forget that you have that goal because of that. And I 100% would get pissy. The first year was the worst one when I ended up going, like when I first set that goal, and you guys freaking talked me off a ledge. And then the second year, it was better, but it was still a really long season. I'm like, what the heck? I just can't get things to go right. But then after year 3 or whatever, I will say, as crazy as it is, I mean, that was a very good learning lesson, but totally changed how I hunt now, like 100%. And it is so much more fun. Like, it has made it where this year, I think Warren kept telling me, you just need to chill, and that's when you'll kill at 170. I'm like, it's easy for you to say 5. I mean, you've freaking got them stacked up or whatever. But this year, I mean, last year I was very chill and just I am going to focus on a deer, which was a problem. That was a very hard challenge. Didn't even see the deer. And this year I was like, I'm just going to trust my gut the most I can. I'm just going to do what I can and read what I know for information on a map, and I'm going to go. And it worked. So it's changed how I hunt as far as appreciating the season, appreciating my time, and not doing that. Because I'm definitely having more goals.
Yeah. So it's
The
okay to
coyotes
set
piss me
goals,
off,
but
but-
don't let them take from the experience.
Yeah, make sure those goals are for you, not for anyone else, or not from anywhere else. Or that's where I was really fortunate. As much as if we'd have been doing this podcast 30 years ago, I would tell you how unfortunate it was that I'm growing up in a place that doesn't. I wanted to see a 125-inch deer. That was my first goal. Wanted to see one, not kill one, not see it from a stand, just see one. Period. I just didn't. They weren't around. So all the places going from Virginia to Arkansas to Montana, my goals were a little more like kill a deer with my bow. I want to do that. Then I wanted to kill a buck, and then I happened to kill a buck I mounted, scored 102. And then I wanted to, now I want to try to kill one every year. Now I want to be more consistent. Then when we get to Arkansas now, I'm not going to hunt with a gun much anymore. I mean, I hunted with a gun for a little bit, but then eventually it was, okay, I'm going to do this with my bow exclusively. Then we moved to Montana. I was like, all right, I better break out the gun because I don't know what I'm doing. I'm hunting a totally different species at the time. Matter of fact, the first year I didn't hunt whitetails. because I just thought, okay, I got to learn how to hunt mule deer and things like that. And so I altered it, but it wasn't me. I didn't feel right. I didn't feel like I was. And then so I shot a cow with my rifle, and I mean, it was fun. And I mean, it was 18 below and 24 inches of snow on the ground. And 3 of us took horses in to go get these elk. I mean, it was miserable conditions, but that was a experience that like I still look at that and think how cool that was. We cut those elk up with a chainsaw because George Cook took vegetable oil and ran vegetable oil into the chainsaw, into the bar oil. So then you could cut the elk up and it was just vegetable oil that was getting on there. And then you had him put them on the horses. It was cool. I mean, like he knew what he was doing.
That's something I think is really interesting. I think one thing I would say too, if I'm not sure, it depends on, I think it applies to probably almost anything that you're enduring or in during life though, is if it's one of the, seems to be at the time, one of the most difficult or terrible experiences you could be having, you're probably, and this is maybe with the exception of, you know, a death or something like that, but something you're enduring on pursuing. If you're at a time where it's the most difficult and like the worst experience that you could imagine, you will probably look back at that in several years and be like, holy shit, that was awesome. And because of what you conquered.
Or what you got out of it, period.
Well, I look back at certain things through, I look back at myself when I was so obsessed on some of the business stuff. And I was like, my God, dude, you were a psycho. You were nuts. But then it's like, holy shit, that was awesome. And like, look at where you've made it now. I think of the elk hunt when I ended up having to cuddle with 2 other dudes. And at the time, you're like, you got one talking about hitting the chopper button. And it's like, what have we done? Like, I've really screwed up here. This could be terrible. And then now, if there's any time we're at a party or event or anything, like, people love that story. And like, I'm like, man, I'd go do it again just to be able to share this story. You know, and then you hear about, like, guarantee at the time that was probably like, why did we go out in -30 to shoot freaking cows? This is absolutely terrible. And then now you get to share that story, and it's something you look back on. It's like, man, that was freaking cool.
You're telling me that I should have grabbed that drunk coon the other day. I found another coon the other day that was stumbling all around. He's like, I was like, I think I'm going to go grab it. And Warren goes, that one's a little more alive than the last one you grabbed. And I was like, well, I think that's all right. And he's like, no, I wouldn't do that.
So you learn from your mistakes.
They went into a tree right after that.
Yeah, no, it's it's been quite the journey. You know, it ain't over yet. So that's what's awesome. I mean, I still today, people will ask, you know, what's your favorite hunt? And I continue to say the same thing. The next one. The next one is that's going to be the one, you know. There's so many that are so good.
The Yukon will be pretty cool.
Yeah.
That's going to be a pretty cool one.
Yeah, that's kind of, but I hope I can squeeze something in between there. I mean, we got 2 more years still, 2.5 years before we go on that hunt. This whole thing with the Aoudad and the Oryx, and I'm kind of enjoying trying something that, again, I'm challenging myself. Is this impossible?
We should let people pick for you. Yeah. If it's something in North America that is not excruciatingly expensive, that you find something that you think that is a very difficult hunt. But he's already done 2 of the really difficult ones of people that say you couldn't. Nobody said you could do an Oryx with a bow.
The whole thing is I couldn't find any. I mean, you guys can go on YouTube. There might be 1 or 2 on there now because there was none.
I know
3 or 4 years ago.
I know after you did it, a lot of people at ATA were telling us that they were going to go.
They were going to go, yeah.
Yeah. But anyways, if you guys have something that is, I didn't even know what an Oryx was until Dad figured this out. And you think it's a challenge for him to do with his bow, I'd be interested. Send them in to us, and maybe we'll start sending David around to try to accomplish what you can't do with a bow, and he'll do it with a bow.
Someone pick a Sika deer. That's what that's the one. Or a black buck. But there's got to be some things. It's got to be fair chase. No high fence, anything, and it's got to be. I don't care whether other people have done it or whatever. My whole thing too was I don't go to those places and then say, okay, I'm going to shoot at 60 or 80 yards until I kill one. The Aoudad.
Well, the whole point of the goal is that people haven't been able to do it, or you're doing it in terrain that you have to get within 40 yards or less, and it is
hard.
Very
The
difficult.
Aoudad I thought was going to be impossible.
It doesn't change just because it's a challenge for a bow hunt and you go shoot whatever distance. It's, no, I'm going to go here and do blank, still under 40 yards or less. None of that changes.
Yep.
That'll be fun to see. And you got to, don't send us any, though, that you got freaking put in for 20 years to draw for.
There's all kinds of stuff that I think that's out. Not that other people haven't done it, but I just would like to see. Because, I love the great thing about hunting that is like kind of one of the things, enjoy it while you go, is how many people I've met. And in the places I've gotten to see, like West Texas, when we went down there on that Aoudad hunt last year, I never dreamed that that's what it would look like. It was the most rugged, wild-looking place. The guides that we met there, they had some incredible stories coming from the Mexican border there and stuff like that. Oh, it was nuts. And that's going on right here in the U.S. where we live. But here in Iowa, we don't have a clue.
Yeah. Well, we don't tend to see much of it.
No. We see the after effects of it. Well, we got way off topic, but
yeah, we chased that rabbit.
A great topic.
I like it.
I think it was a really good podcast. You guys should send us something that you've looked back on in life that was like, at the time was like, oh my gosh, this could be the worst thing ever. And look back now and you're like, man, that was freaking awesome.
Well, here's what I would say to that with what Warren just said. I never would have dreamed that 40 years, not quite 40, it's probably 38 years later, this is what would have brought us to because that's what started all this, was Warren asked me about the Forked Horn. And that's where it went. And so just think about that. You may dig something out of your business stuff. You may dig it out of your gym stuff. You may dig it out of your family life. And it may be something very small, that is going to be what brought you to where you are, no matter how big that is, whether that's money, whether that's whatever you're doing. So anyhow, with that being said, I will just say thank you, because this wouldn't be possible without those of you that are out there in podcast land today listening, and the ones that were watching TV and stuff like that. We would not be here.
No, for sure.
If people did not appreciate what we were doing.
100%. I would agree with that.
Well, I think the other thing to think about is if you think about it in, sometimes we all get caught up in, we don't want to have any more competition or anybody else. Oh, there's another guy in my spot, or this or that, or we don't want any other people finding sheds or anything else. But if you think of, if we say that it all starts with a deer like that, and I think back of all the memories of hunting, I mean, if we didn't have hunting, I think I'd be depressed. I have no idea what.
It wouldn't be
I have
good.
no idea what life would be like without hunting, or how people could even do that. And so, just if you think of the joy that it brings you, and you're wishing that somebody else doesn't get a part of that, try to think of it in that context instead of just and I'm saying that for myself too, even though you guys could let me have 180 so that I can now have a little bit of it. But anyway, that's beside the point of it. Be trying to think of, they're just seeking that same joy that we are.
Yep.
Uh,
Got your buttons on?
Yeah, I also have a wacky fact today that me and Nick found.
Oh, yeah. Well, you should do yours while he's trying to find his.
Yeah, it's taking forever. You're really bad at your wacky facts.
There are
segment,
more
just so you know.
possible variations of chess games than atoms in the observable universe.
What? So
There's more outcomes.
Yeah, that's a mind boggle.
Yeah. And this
I like
one's
chess.
this one here is for
We
Neil deGrasse Tyson.
Oh Lord, here we go.
We know
Warren's on his
less
soapbox.
about our ocean floors than we do about Mars. Mars is mapped at 5 meters a pixel. Earth's land is 30 centimeters a pixel. Ocean, most only mapped at 1.5 kilometers a pixel.
Holy crap!
Why? Because light doesn't reach the deep ocean.
So we got no idea.
Yeah, so this
That's where all the aliens are coming
this
from, bro.
dude says he wants to tell us about everything else and this and everything, and he don't know about flipping whales that are right here on Earth. So Neil can just shut up.
Oh, you hate that guy so much.
He's so arrogant.
You shouldn't hate Warren. You can dislike, but you shouldn't hate him.
Well, then he should just learn to keep his mouth shut.
Okay, mine, not in lieu of Groundhog Day. Me and Nick were looking into Groundhog Day a little
I
bit.
hate that guy too.
Phil.
Punxsutawney Phil?
Yeah.
Well, which one are you talking about? Because there's been a lot of them. While Punxsutawney Phil is the most famous, dozens of groundhogs, approximately 70 to over 80 in North America, including others like Weirton Willie and General Brigard Lee, predict the weather annually. They roughly 530 unique groundhog year predictions, recording across 33 different locations. Out of all of those, they achieve roughly 50% accuracy overall.
So they're doing just as good a job as our weather
That's what I said.
forecasters.
Well, I mean, how would it not be possible for it's a 50-50 shot?
They could also be doing like 10% accurate. I'm pretty sure 50-50
They're saying they're
is
combining
probably
all of their data.
Yes,
Okay.
but there is some other ones. Other groundhogs sometimes outperform Ol' Phil, such as Staten Island Chuck, who is 85% accurate, and
Dang.
General Brigard Lee was 80% accurate.
Why they just say 6 weeks of winter every single time?
I don't know what they do different, but they got a strategy.
Well, my whole thing is like what do they say? Do they say, okay, it's going to be a longer winter? Well, you can have 2 weeks from when they make that prediction, we have a huge snowstorm. But then it warms up. I don't think they can go wrong.
I just like how everybody
They definitely have
makes it
some
to-
kind of thing because it's considering that they're not getting 100%.
Winter doesn't even start technically till what, end of December?
December 21st.
And then by the beginning of February, everybody is so over it that they're like, we need a groundhog to try to make us feel better about what the winter is going to be here.
well,
We're like halfway through the freaking season.
I think Nick said it. Was it regardless, you're at 6 weeks of winter
Yeah,
when they do.
because
when they do
you
that.
got to
Do you
go
have
to
6
March
weeks or not?
21st, so you got to get there.
Right.
Yeah, so that's what I'm saying is that, and in between that time, I'll use the Iowa Deer Classic. We could say the Iowa Deer Classic is our Phil, is our Punxsutawney Phil, because we've walked into the Classic and it's been so freaking cold that it's been -degree weather and he has to shut the doors, and then we've come out there with T-shirts on sometimes.
Yeah.
And
we've had tornadoes during it.
we've had storms and tornadoes. So,
I even have a wacky fact.
Uh-oh,
boy.
Nick.
Oh, boy.
he's going to
About to lose an IQ here.
Nick has a wacky fact. If you can't hear him, we'll try to repeat it after he says it.
So this is an Olympic one. Does anybody know where the sport of luging originated from?
Small country or big?
Oh, you said luging.
Small country?
Was it a small country or
Not really. No.
Scandinavia?
Pretty damn close.
Russia.
No.
Bahamas.
Well, he would be closer with the Scandinavia because that would be Switzerland and Norway.
I was going to say Norwegian.
The luge originated as a recreational sport in the Swiss Alps, officially in St. Moritz and Davos. During the mid to late 19th century, while sleds were used for transportation in Norway as early as 1480, British tourists in Switzerland began adapting delivery sleds racing, leading to the first organizational international competition in Davos in 1883.
So they had DoorDash in Sweden in 14 whatever, and the DoorDash guys were delivering in their sleds, racing each other. That's pretty good, Nick. I'll give you that.
That's about exactly where you'd have thought luge would have originated, something like
I
the
figured there's
Swiss
some kind of
Alps.
transport too.
Yeah.
That was actually legit.
Yeah, Cool Runnings was based on a true story, wasn't it? Where those guys bobsledded and they were from Jamaica.
Jamaica, man. How'd they practice?
Wheels.
Yeah.
Oh, actually?
Yeah.
You never seen that movie?
No.
Yeah.
I feel like that
John-
would be totally deceiving. You're going to
John
go from
Candy-
wheels to ice.
Oh, they did okay. I mean, they competed. I mean,
Dang. You really can't do anything nowadays.
yeah.
That was like 30 years ago.
You really can't do anything from then until nowadays.
All right, guys. Well, thank you guys for joining us on the Raised Hunting Podcast. We apologize if we did not get through with the podcast we intended to do. So, but we'll get back there next week. And for all of you guys, just remember, reviews. Let your buddies know that there's a podcast out there, and make sure you go check out the YouTube stuff because we got lots of new videos. Other than that, we will see you guys next week.